Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm Phil Hill, and once again we're pleased to have the Supervisor of Athletics for East Brunswick High School, Frank Noppenberger. Frank, welcome to Sports Talk.
Thank you, Phil. As always, it's a pleasure to be here, and what an exciting year. We finished up with a bang, and I'll get to that in a minute, and as a matter of fact, we're still going on. Still a couple events going on.
But it's been a good spring season.
At the end, all of a sudden, everything blossomed. For example, Sherry Chang, who was one of our javelin throwers, she is the favorite to win the Meet of Champions, which is probably happening right now. It's going on. Friday, Bo came in, Mr. Henning came into the office with the GMC Golf Championship. They came out of nowhere and won that. So it culminated at the end. The boys baseball, we'll get into that, and the girls softball, they both advanced to the semis of the conference tournament. So it seemed like we blossomed at the end and peaked at the right time.
A lot of things coming together. Let's talk about, if you will, the girls track team. You mentioned Chang. I think I saw where she threw 136.
I think that was
which is no one near her in the state. So she certainly has a good chance to take the state title, I would say.
And plus, she's a junior. Harry seems to think she is the favorite, but anything can happen in competition, as you know. And I think she's going in there with the right attitude. You know, this is according to Coach Morris. And we'll see what happens. We've had other tournament of champion winners. Don't ask me who. I think Josh Miller may have been one in the high jump, and then
right.
Years ago, before I got there, but it would be a real honor for East Brunswick to have another. But the girls track team, going into the season, I think I even sat here where Harry predicted that they would win the conference, the relays, the sectionals. Well, they ended up short in the sectionals by a couple points. They lost to a strong 100 in Central. But they went through the conference and the division with relatively little problem. They were the relay champs. They were the championships of the conference and the division. And it was expected, but the kids performed. Kerry Herman, again, was a champ in the sprint. Ajita Rundaway did an outstanding job, and Jeannie Raby, Mandy Plauner, and of course Sherry. So it was a team effort, and you could see that because every year, every meet, everyone was pulling up with the points, you know, gaining the points for the victory. I'm sure they were somewhat disappointed not winning the sectionals, but with Sherry going on, it adds to that excitement.
It's a matter of pulling it all together. I had a chance to see Harry up at the field one afternoon, and he was still excited about the season. And we were talking about how do you pull it all together? How do you have everyone on the same page, reaching the peak at the same time? And he felt confident that they would, and I think they did a fantastic job.
And something else I think needs to be mentioned is credit has to go to the kids, the athletes. This time of the year, the proms, the variety shows, the banquets, the shore, there's so many distractions. They've got to stay focused. I don't like using that word, but they've got to stay focused into the, you know, athletics, and the girls did. They stayed with it to the end. They worked hard to the end. You know, the season was over, and then it's time to hang up the spikes, and they did. But they were really focused the entire year, so well, congratulations to Coach.
It's a phenomenon. I hope we have some time to get back to that work ethic about young athletes today. But tell us about the boys track team.
Boys track. Coach Don Mandy, this was his first year after taking over Dudley Ty, who was here for 30-something years.
A legend.
You competed against him then,
yes,
right?
Yes, I was in quarter mile. I'll give me some credit.
That never dawned on me. I never ran track, but oh boy, that's interesting. And I bet you he could tell you your times in the races.
I hope he doesn't.
Oh, those track guys, they're amazing how they remember races and times. Well, they were undefeated. I guess the highlight of their season was they had a great win against Piscataway and a very emotional win against St. Joe's. And Don Mandy started that tradition that Mr. Ty has continued the tradition Mr. Ty has started, and he added a victory lap at the end of each
nice touch.
So I'm waiting for him to come in one day, and I see the kids running around the track. I said, oh, he's flipped. Yeah. He's flipped. But it's a little thing that they started. They all as a team run around and they cheer and high-five everyone. And it was good.
I think people can relate. In years gone by, anytime you beat St. Joe's in track was a monumental feat. But you got other teams that are coming up like Piscataways and some of the other schools, and to beat them is saying quite a bit.
Well, the Piscataway meet, it was the last throw of the javelin that won it. He had to beat 150 feet, which he did, and we took the 3 points and they lost it, and that was the difference in the meet. So it went to the last throw at the last event. So, you know, and Piscataway, they went home, their heads were down, but they're great sports over there. They're a class act. And our kids were excited, but they shook our hands, and they knew that particular day we were better. So, you know, Mike O'Reilly, he came back. Now we're individuals after that, those hip injuries, and had a great year. But I think Eric Lee, the sprinter, who was just almost automatic for us in a couple events, he was the most outstanding track athlete this year. But it was a good team effort, and I'm happy for Coach Mandy and Spadafino. Okay,
you mentioned that Bo Henning came home with a conference championship. I think record was 11-4. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I get off these tangents, but that's okay. We had our athletic banquet on Thursday, and at the banquet, I announced to everyone that Mr. Henning is guaranteed, like Patrick Ewing, a championship. Well, Bo gave it to me later. I said, "What are you saying that for?" Well, the next day, sure enough, he walked in with the trophy, says, "You guaranteed it, we got it for you." Chris Albers and Scott Grossman had a great day. They golfed to their potential, they worked hard, and they improved, and a little help with some other schools not golfing their best. You know, we were consistent, and we deserved to win it. That's what makes it exciting. Everyone knew we could still win it. We weren't the favorite, but you had to worry about us. And if, you know, maybe the pressure got to the other schools.
Who was the main adversary? Your main
I think
person you had to beat out?
South Plainfield was the favorite. South Plainfield's golfer swung, hit his hand against the fence, injured himself, and he had to drop out.
Wow.
So, but we still had to win. We still had to beat
right.
Bishop Barr and Sayreville and everyone else. But the favorite was South Plainfield, and an injury caused one of their players not to participate or to finish. You know what they did this year? They started at 6:30 and they did a shotgun start. So those poor kids had to get up at what time
Wow.
to be at the golf at 6:30 and get around all the holes.
They just better get used to life. That's what most golfers do anyway.
Well, what Bo was telling me about Grossman, he's been golfing and he's used to this. And there's no big deal him getting up early and golfing, where Coach thought that maybe some of the other schools were complaining, they're tired, they're up late, and whatever. It was no big deal to him. It was just another day.
Golfers and hunters, they got to get up early. You want to play?
I don't do either.
Okay. Girls softball certainly had an exciting season. I sort of kept up with them through the papers and knocked off some big-time opponents and just performed extremely well.
The Metuchen win certainly was, if you had to pick one event or one game, certainly was the highlight of the season, and that advances to the semis of the tournament. And the girls at the end started to believe in themselves. As a matter of fact, I think a couple of them went up to Mr. Carney and said, you know, maybe we weren't so, here we go again, focused during the regular season, but we're going to get it together for the tournament. And sure enough, you know, one game after the other, and they lost in the semis to South Plainfield. You know, it was 6-0, but South Plainfield had a great game, and we didn't play as well. But they're all young. And they're all young. They're young. They're all coming back. Jessica's going to be pitching, coming back. Hanson's coming back at third. Breen's coming back at short. Okay, so I think next year can be just as good. To get to that Final Four, you still have the Edison, the Stevens, the South Plainfield, and I don't know if we're there yet. I'd like to think we are, but we have the people coming back, so you never know.
Carney was a tremendous baseball player himself at Sayreville High School, I believe.
Sayreville.
And
went out to Arizona, I think, on a scholarship. and I think he blew out a knee. And but back then, I guess the rehab wasn't as great or whatever, and then he redirected his attention, I guess, to coaching, because he's one heck of a coach. But he tells a story now and then about it and how he wasn't, and he uses it as an example. He's gone in to talk to the classrooms, how he thought that he'd get by, he's an athlete and he's going to be a pro player, and then all of a sudden the knee's gone and he wasn't taking his studies serious, and he just did a 180 and turned it around, and it was just the knee going out. Then he realized his dream is shot. So he goes in and he talks to the kids about it, and they listen because it's a real life situation.
Right.
He's been there, right?
He's been there. That's a story that needs to be told, particularly for our young athletes today.
Yeah, he does a better job than I do.
The baseball team, I sort of kept up with them as well. Not a great year, but they were in the thick of where they were in the conference finals against Monroe, I believe, and somehow they just managed to do that just about every year.
We've seen the peak baseball at the end. The highlight, obviously, was beating Piscataway. Boy, they must really be mad at us, Piscataway. We beat them in the quarterfinal, the first round of the conference tournament. Okay. It was like a 5-4 game. The game ended when they had runners in second and third with a power hitter up. He hit a shot to the shortstop. Matthews picked it up, threw it over to first, and that was the game. But it went down right to the wire. It was a very exciting game. And from there, they did all right. They won one at a time, a step at a time, and I think that the reason was they started to believe in themselves, and the pitching came in at the end. We didn't have an outstanding player. The Bentrowitzes did a great job for us in the outfield. The third baseman, Caraluccio, I know I messed up his name. He did a great job. Frank catching, Maffiori did a good job, and we were all good players. But at tournament time, what happened is we seemed to step it up a bit, and we had fresh people. Maybe it was we didn't qualify for the states, but we had fresh people. Tommy Botwin, who's a freshman, started varsity as a pitcher, so he's a big kid, and that was exciting. And the win over Votech to put us into the semis certainly was, I don't think we were the favorite, but that was another exciting game that put us into the semifinals. It was a good season. It finished on a positive note, just as I did the spring sports, real positive note for the kids and the coaching staff.
Are they an older team, young team, somewhere in the middle?
Well, it's probably in the middle. You got the freshman pitcher, you've got the first baseman, Stapleton, I believe he's a junior, and there's a few underclassmen, but I think the outfield was basically seniors, catcher senior. But the JVs, they had a good year. But if you get that one pitching star, which Botwin could be, that helps. The 9th grade team had a very good year under Coach McDougall. I believe they were like 10-5, 10-4. And that was a group as youngsters. I think they did a Little League World Series, or the State World Series, not Little League, but the State World Series. So they believe in themselves. They know how to win. So I think baseball's going to make some noise. Okay, you've been talking about this volleyball for years. We're going to get volleyball, and finally it's here. And I think they did surprisingly well for the first season. Absolutely, without a doubt. The girls, 11-6, I believe, something like that, 11-8. A winning season, playing against good competition. It was difficult in the beginning it was difficult not in the beginning, but anytime scheduling the games, because everyone's schedule was already made, and we had to sneak in and take whoever was available. So we played anyone, anytime, so we could get the games in. They had a real nice season. They had a real nice, Coach Ground did a real good job with them. They had some young kids. The freshman, Michelle Newman, was the MVP. There you go, you have a freshman being an MVP. Wow. It's just going to get better. Tia Papania played. She was a spiker. we just had a good season. Letitia Papania, no, it wasn't Papania. Who was the, it was Liz Cannon. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I apologize. Liz Cannon was the leading spiker for us. So we were going to be just as good, if not better, next year. The girls are already talking about camps and programs, just like any of the other successful girls programs or boys. You got to do the stuff in the off season, which they said they will, and they are. The boys, although their record was a few games under 500, it was power volleyball at its best. We're seeing how difficult it was to get the girls. It was just as difficult to get the boys, and the only teams that would play us were the Powers, the Bridgewater, or the Clifton, or the Memorial of West New York, because they knew it's an automatic, it's a W against a Group 4. Well, they thought it was automatic. They would come down and schedule us, where some teams didn't want to play us. There's some potential there. I think Coach Arnauer knows exactly what they have to do, which is no secret. He's got them into the camps. That beach volleyball thing, which has exploded,
big.
You know, and they're already talking about getting into 3-on-3 tournaments. So I think volleyball is here to stay. And what's interesting about volleyball, and what I think makes it that much more exciting, is the names. Roy Cham. He's not a name because he's not involved in the football, baseball, basketball. Volleyball attracts kids who may not be involved in any other sport. And just like any other sport, they'll do it all year round. So it's given an opportunity for 30 some more athletes to come out and participate. As a matter of fact, we had 90-something girls come out for volleyball, 70-something boys.
Wow.
And you have to trim that down. But it's a popular sport, and it's not like you and I play in the backyard. It's power volleyball.
It's power volleyball. Are fans coming out? Do you have
First few
following?
games were up in the hundreds, and then just like anything else, it tailed off. But everyone was curious to come out. I was real impressed with the faculty coming out. I know Ms. Regalado and Mr. Christensen were at a lot of the games. They're just fans of the kids and the athletes, and they came out to watch. But I think the interest will stay there of volleyball. It's really exciting.
Okay, again, I don't think anyone could expect the boys and girls to do nearly as well as they did. I mean, you're talking about coming into a totally new sport on the varsity level for the first time. You're supposed to take your lumps coming in, and they didn't do that.
I don't think we did. I think maybe in the beginning, once or twice, we were in awe of the situation of the sport, but after that, we found out that we can compete against them. And we were competitive in every game. And, the kids worked hard, they had fun, and we were competitive, and, you like to win. I don't know if that's the ultimate goal of high school athletics, though. That's philosophy that you and I can get into off camera.
That's right. Well, we'll be watching, and perhaps we'll get to, maybe we will get to actually do a few games, what do you call them, matches?
Yeah, they call them matches. Boy, talk about a new education, rules. It's a whole different sport.
Thing, right?
Yeah, I'd have to sit next to them. Well, what was wrong with that? Well, what was that a foul or a violation? But it's a whole brand new sport, and I enjoyed it.
We're going to keep our eyes on it.
Good.
Tennis, once again, a very successful season. I'm partial to Coach Pellegrino. I just, most people don't know. This is just a competitive guy. I mean, looks rather, easygoing. Speak to him, he's rather easygoing. But I see him running the streets like crazy. He's been in a few marathons. I know how he coaches for the football team, and he's just a real competitor. And I think it's translated over to his tennis teams. Without
a doubt, and it wasn't more evident than in the GMC finals or the GMC tournament. He was struggling with his doubles. They weren't really meshing. They weren't getting him the points that they wanted. I mean, we lost 2 matches. That's what he's talking about, right? So he adjusted it for the tournament, and we end up winning the tournament. We may not have been the best team, but we were the best team in the tournament because Coach Pell made those adjustments. And Chris Ransom had a great final against Joe Yee from Woodbridge, who made it to the quarters of the state.
Wow.
Just played an outstanding game against him. And, every level or every round you win, you gain a point. So with him winning one and the doubles sneaking in one, it clinched the tournament for us. But my hat's off to Coach Pell and the boys tennis team. They just had a great job. They showed a lot of character. They probably lost the ones to the teams that were better than them. But in tournament time, they pulled through.
A few questions. We got a little time here. A few questions. When you start mentioning some of the coaches, Haakendas and Carney and so forth and whatnot, just how many games is that worth? How many matches is that worth? How much of an edge do you get from that good coaching, in your opinion?
I would bet, wow, that's a tough question. I would bet game coaching, you're probably 2, maybe 3 a season.
Mm-hmm.
Game coaching, a strategy, a move. Practice coaching, I'd jump another 5 to 7.
So it's got to be done in practice.
Well, first of all, you got to have the talent.
Right.
We appreciate that. I mean, if you and I were to go out on the tennis courts against 2 of Coach Pell's kids, there would be no contest, no matter how much, well,
That's
maybe
right.
you're better than I am.
I probably am, but that's another story too.
Coach Bell competitive? Can we document that? Can we have a tennis match? Can we, and then we'll apologize to one another?
Certainly so.
Okay, we will play this spring, and then in a fall recap, if you guys have me back,
Sounds good.
one of us will have to shake the other person's hand. Okay, well anyway, I think it has to be done in practice to prepare them for the game. So what, 8, maybe 10 games the whole season, on a 20-something game schedule. But if you don't have the talent, there's nothing you're going to do. But I think on the game day, it's 2 or 3. There's no doubt in my mind, Coach Pell pulled the right strings for the GMC. I think Coach Carney and Coach Hawk did the same thing for the GMC softball and baseball tournament, without a doubt.
Interesting. You mentioned earlier about giving the kids credit for doing as well as they have done, considering the prom and so many things going on. Prevailing thought, I believe, among a lot of people is that the kids this day don't work as hard, don't have the work ethic that we did in the good old days. Can you give us your view?
The only thing I see that the youth not doing now is I don't see them going out and playing enough on their own. Like I see you and your boy up there, you're pitching the ball, he hits it, and you run after it. I mean, that's pretty good, You run after. I don't see them doing enough sandlot, is what they call play, or pick up basketball, or pick up soccer. Everything is organized play.
I see.
And our youth program in the town is outstanding. My daughter happens to be involved in the soccer program. It's both daughters, 2 of the 3 daughters, and there's no doubt that's why we're good, because of the youth program. But my problem with her is I don't think that she goes out enough on her own.
I see.
So, do they work? Yeah, the kids work. The exceptional athletes work as hard as you or anyone else probably did. The average athletes, just like back then, they didn't work as hard. I think they work hard. I think the training is a little more scientific. I don't think there's a lot of wasted energy, and there's a lot more emphasis, I think, on technique and skills rather than the conditioning and whatever. And I think, and we talk about this all the time, the summer league, a lot of that gets done in the summer leagues and the summer programs, and they're bigger and they're stronger now too. But they still have to pay the price.
They still do.
They have to, because it's 2 or 3 hours a day. At East Brunswick, it's competitive. It's competitive in the classroom, then you got to turn around and do it right after school and practice. Then you have to go home and get it done, help out with the chores and do your homework. It's challenging, and the best thing is I think they learn to budget their time, they learn to be organized.
Okay. Frank Noppenberger, yourself, you're free at last. No longer the GMC president, I believe. How are you feeling about that?
I enjoy it.
You do?
As a matter of fact, someone called me the other day. There was a situation, a complaint, a controversy. I said, gee, I really appreciate you calling, but I feel bad to tell you to call Greg Ficarra at Perth Amboy because it's his problem. No, I was nicer than that, but yeah, I was happy with the way it all finished. I think it was a positive note. I think we made some nice strides, and it was time after 4 years for someone else, and now I can continue to give the time to the high school and phys ed and athletics and to the family.
Good. Well, once again, we're just about out of time, and as always, I certainly enjoyed talking to you. Looking forward to talking to you about the fall sports pretty soon. But again, it's been great, and we want you to come back.
Great. I'll be back, and I don't know when we're going to set the date, but I'm going to start practicing.
Do tennis.
Right. The fall season, if I may, is going to be just as exciting, and it's right around the corner. There's a Thanksgiving game for the first time in many years against Old Bridge.
Old Bridge.
We're going to be playing Old Bridge under the lights in soccer, Sayreville under the lights in soccer. And it's really going to be, we open up against Hun in field hockey. So there's a few different opponents in there, different opponents. It's going to be an exciting fall season. We're going to have 2 new coaches for boys and girls cross country.
They are.
Thank you to Mr. Brophy for your 25 years, and Mr. Bossamello. They have retired. We're going to miss them. So we're going to get some new faces to talk about.
Who are the new faces?
We don't have them yet.
You don't have
We're
them
waiting
yet?
for your application.
I tell you, I just might put it in. What's the stipend?
Yeah, right. Well, it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and I think football, and it seems that football sets the tone all the time. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. Marcus is so optimistic. He and Coach Carney are so optimistic about everything. And that's the way they should be.
Okay.
It'll be exciting, and I know we'll be seeing you guys.
Good. Listen, Frank, again, thanks a lot. For Sports Talk, I'm Phil Hill saying join us again.